Start off on the bakery bridge hats.
I want 92 for the Tupelo.
ULEE'S.
I could sell it myself. Fact is, I've been thinking of doing just that.
Can you extract by next Thursday?
I can give you 30 barrels. I'll keep the rest.
You're not working as many bees these days. Can you deliver?
I said 30. I meant it.
Well, it's gonna be a good year. At least as long as they can keep the Chinese from dumping their honey.
Chinese don't have anything like our Tupelo.
Usually, most folks don't seem to care anymore. Cheap honey floods the market.
The bees and I have an understanding.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thank you for listening to the McJeffrey 500, the podcast where I count down my 500 favorite movies, and then I make my friends watch them one film at a time.
I liked it better when you started with, damn it!
It's very, sometimes mistakes are made. And I'm usually too lazy to edit them out, but, we'll see what happens this time around. It is May 17th, 2015.
It is true.
My name is Jeff, and welcoming back to his first solo podcast since we're going all the way back to Midnight Madness.
Was that my last solo?
I think it was your last solo one.
Wow.
Mr. Scott's here.
Hi.
It's been a while. Well, as we've spoken on past podcasts, you had a lovely child.
I did.
And we gave you maternity leave.
Yes.
So now I gotta, crack the whip, put you back to work.
It's actually been kind of nice. I've actually gotten caught up on all the podcasts that I missed while I was out. I listened to the one that we did last week. Nice. Or I guess it was 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah. Return of the Jedi.
Which was Return of the Jedi. And it was kind of cool, like, listening to a block of them. I felt like in the time that I was gone, everybody else who's a guest host on the podcast really upped their game and peeled back the onion on themselves.
Yes, and that usually happens when, you stick to... and that's what I learned from prior podcasts. You do it long enough, people start, the defenses go down a little bit. They start being, less aware of the microphone in front of them, and we speak what's truly on our mind, and hopefully we stammer a little less than we did in the beginning. Hopefully, because like I said, when I edit this thing, and i.e. when Travis edits this thing, I'm basically just pointing out, okay, put the trailer here, put the song here, put the the scene here. I used to, when I had my podcast, the McJeffrey Show, I would literally edit out every and it would take hours. So let's speak on what we've been watching. I've
had a lot of time.
You've had tons of time.
But it's been different, because before I would say on average, I'd probably average at least one movie, if not once a month, once every other month in a theater.
Jeez.
Now that I am with child,
homebody,
it's considerably harder, because you don't want to foist the job of parenting only on one person, even if that person is off work currently.
You got to be quote unquote on call. It's like,
well, it's not just being on call, but
you actually want to be there for the child as well.
Yeah, you want to be there. Obviously. You want to get the time yourself with your child, and then on top of that, when one parent is staying home, that's a lot of, number one, it's a lot of time spent with the person who can't communicate with you in the same way that we are communicating right now.
Sure.
And number two, it's just a lot of work. It's exhausting. Just even the first time that I bottle fed my son, it was... I thought I was going to fall asleep after, because you get I'm the kind of person that when body heat hits me, my instinct is to just shut down. If it gets I always wear short sleeves to work because I fear that if I don't, I'm going to start sweating, and then I'm just going to be napping on the floor of my office.
So you overheat, and therefore you have an automatic shutdown switch.
I'm apparently like 3 Mile Island. I just...
Yikes.
So, it's hard to say, I'm gonna bail for 2 hours to go see something I want to see. Hang out at home with the crying kid, or hang out at home with the kid who needs to be fed nonstop.
Sure.
And I mean, it's just you have a kid. We have a kid now who's 9 weeks old. That's what he does. He eats, he sleeps, he poops, he cries. And now we're getting to the point where he's actually responding to stimulus. People aren't as interested in this kind of thing. But basically, that's a lot.
Well, you're learning this stuff.
Yeah, right? And I'm learning this firsthand for the first time. This is the first time I've been a parent, and it's interesting. It's
life-changing stuff.
So we don't get to go to the movies as much, but we found other ways to do it. So the nice thing about living in Sacramento is that we still, miraculously, thanks to the collapse of the housing market, have a drive-in movie theater.
Oh, wow.
So this past Thursday, Ann and I headed out with Ryan to watch Pitch Perfect 2, which we were very excited about. The first Pitch Perfect blindsided me with how good
it did too.
It was.
For me, I went to, this is during a time when I was seeing anything that accrued a ripe tomato, which is technically what I try to see as many ripe tomatoes as I can, but I honestly just don't have time anymore. But Pitch Perfect was one of those that it had a ripe tomato, so okay, maybe it's not as terrible as I'm fearing it is, but I end up leaving the film actually.
And it's hard. It's an ensemble comedy. Rebel Wilson's role can be very slapstick, as was evidenced when she made her debut in Bridesmaids.
You know what? What's terrible? And I'm going to sound terrible saying this. I honestly, when I saw Bridesmaids, I thought it was some other actress in a fat suit.
And the fact that she was paired up with
Ball Duty.
Was it? It's one of the guys from Little Britain. It's either David Walliams or Matt.
He's a Brit.
God, I can't remember what his name is. Anyway, the other guy from Little Britain.
Yeah.
And they look so much alike that you were just like, is he playing both roles? Is this?
And then I started seeing her on interviews, like, oh, no, she's legit. She's just a big girl. But, I thought she was excellent. And
she worked. For someone who's that kind of a character, obviously she didn't work well enough to keep her TV show going. She had that sitcom on ABC for I could never really get into it. There were other ones that came out around the same time that I wish would have lasted longer than that one did.
Well, at least she has the Pitch Perfect franchise to fall back on.
I think that was the one that had the theme song was a Queen song, and I can't remember what it was.
Well, that's telling. I mean,
yeah,
because all Queen songs are pretty memorable, and you can't point. It was probably Keep Yourself Alive or something.
No,
I Want It All.
I can't remember, and it's only because my brain is so filled with other things right now that normally what would be my split-second recall
of Queen catalog
of pointless minutia just isn't what it normally is. I'm not on top of my game, but I'm getting back into it.
It's all right.
So, and part of that is getting back into doing things like watching movies, catching up on shows on my DVR, and I think in the time since the last time I was on the show and actually mentioned what I watched 21 movies. Jeez. Actually, I don't even think it was since the last time I mentioned on this show what I watched. I think that it was just what we talked about informally. I think the last thing I mentioned was seeing Romancing the Stone and Despicable Me 2 for the first time.
Despicable Me 2. Haven't seen it. I'd like the first one. All right, do you have the actual list in front of you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can
all right, so let's go speed round capsulization. Don't give any movie more than 10-20 seconds.
Okay. Saw the Skeleton Twins with
I like that movie.
Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader. Excellent.
I love, you know what, brother-sister movies are actually really rare.
And for the fact that it was a little bit on the darker side of comedy, that one just really was well done. And it I wish Bill Hader got to do more movies because he's so good. I mean, I loved him even in Adventureland.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he was in the tiniest role in that. I loved him in The To-Do List.
I actually saw that one in theaters. That was actually during the year I took off from seeing movies. For some reason, I still got around to seeing that.
I was really down on a lot of the Saturday Night Live casts of recent years, and I didn't really fully appreciate
Bill
like the Bill Hader years, but I think he may have been like one of my favorite SNL actors of the last 10 years.
I like him, and I actually think Will Forte has got something, because I really loved him in Nebraska, and I like MacGruber. Fuck everybody. That movie's funny as shit.
I saw Bad Kids Go to Hell.
Not familiar?
It's TNA.
That's where they go.
Horror, slasher. Basically like Breakfast Club meets House on Haunted Hill. Pretty much if you look at the box, you can figure out who gets naked, and you have a rough idea of who's going to survive. And actually, I think the movie starts out where it finishes. So you can kind of figure it out. Actually, better than House on Haunted Hill, it was Breakfast Club meets Scream.
Okay.
Could have been a lot worse. I wanted to hate it more than I did.
Okay.
Saw the Brothers Bloom.
Brothers Bloom.
Loved it.
That's a solid one. It's not my favorite. Rian Johnson?
Yeah,
because I loved Brick, and I really like Looper. But Brothers Bloom's solid.
That was good enough that I would actually consider watching Looper, which I wasn't really of the mind that I needed to see at the time it came out. And everybody said great things about it. Brothers Bloom, I think, cracked my top 20.
That's great.
Secret of Nim, I finally finished when I started in 3rd grade.
And?
Good. I mean, it was Don Bluth. Everybody loved looking at the Dragon's Lair, but nobody could actually play it. So
I could, but I had all the trading cards.
It was funny. Anne watched it with me, and she was just like, "You realize this isn't going to be a feel good?" I was like, "I have a rough idea."
It does go really dark before it kind of becomes a happy ending. But yeah, I mean, I watched it that pretty recently, and boy, does the Jeremy the Crow just stick out like a sore thumb. Like, can we take the Crow out, because he's really not matching the tone of the rest of the movie,
or at least pair him up with Burt Reynolds.
And
it's Dom DeLuise.
I love Dom DeLuise, but this was his tone. It's like I think he thought he was in a Disney film.
I'll skip over some of these. Okay. I watched the Billy Wilder Sabrina with Audrey Hepburn.
The classic.
Enjoyed that very much.
Seen neither.
Saw It Should Happen to You, which...
is that the Nicolas Cage version?
No.
It could happen to you.
It sounds like 100 other films. It was actually Jack Lemmon's first feature film.
Oh, classic.
With June Holiday.
Okay.
And basically the plot of it is that a woman comes to New York, and she really thinks that she's gonna make it, and everything isn't really going her way. So she takes the surprising amount of money that she has and ends up putting it towards putting her name on a billboard in the middle of Columbus Circle.
Ooh.
And basically for no other reason that she just wants to be able to go to Columbus Circle, see it while she's driving by it, and just have the satisfaction that her name is up there in Columbus Circle.
So she can pretend that she made it.
Yeah, and basically because of that, because people see her name, basically she plays the market. And a company comes along and wants to buy the space that she has, so she trades her one billboard for 6 billboards. And then basically her name starts getting around, and actually she becomes famous, and they put her on television, and she has...
So she essentially becomes famous for doing nothing, which that makes the movie way before its time.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Pretty good. Not like a movie you absolutely need to see, but it's harmless fun. It's good for a Saturday afternoon. Saw Man of a Thousand Faces with Jimmy Cagney, where he plays Lon Chaney Sr.
It'd be fitting.
Which basically the movie is, I'd say 90% of the movie is about how his wife was revolted by the fact that Lon Chaney Sr.'s parents were deaf and mute.
Get over it, bitch.
I saw my first Stephenie Meyer-based movie, which was The Host. The sci-fi movie that came out.
I was going to say, not the monster movie from South Korea.
No. I have seen that. I actually saw that well before this.
Okay, The Host. Ooh, that...
So this was...
Bad?
No, this actually was...
Oh, God, no.
For a sci-fi romance, you could have done a lot worse. Well timed. I don't usually like sci-fi. This, I think, because it was enough of a fluff piece, I think it made it stand a little bit taller. I thought it was better than Maze Runner, which we saw together.
Was not crazy about Maze Runner.
Saw Paddington.
Ooh, I wanted to see that.
Loved Paddington when I was a kid.
I had one.
My most cherished stuffed animal when I was a kid was a Paddington bear.
My neighbors across the street had a Paddington bear that I just obsessed over, and then one Christmas, my Aunt Judy got me one, and I love that thing.
It was.
I don't know where it is now, but
it was good. It had Sally Hawkins from Blue Jasmine in it.
Sure.
Had Nicole Kidman playing the villain of the film.
She's aging very well, by the way.
For what it was and for a kid's piece, I mean, you can tell that it was made by the Harry Potter school because producer and director, I think, came out of the Harry Potter camp. It looks like a Harry Potter movie. A lot of fun. You know, it's basically like one of those movies where all the British actors come together because they know that this is a piece of, you know, their British heritage, and so that they're going to do it so that they're a part of it in perpetuity.
This is a quality, jolly romp.
Yeah, so it was good. It was. It gave me everything I wanted and everything I could have hoped for from it. So I'm happy that I finally got to see it.
That's one I wanted to see in theaters, but I could not drag my niece to go see it.
I would have gone to see it with you.
That would not have been odd.
I watched the Winsor McCay 1918 animated documentary of the sinking of the Lusitania. Just a 10-minute piece. If you're looking for a short film, if you like Winsor McCay, who of course brought you Little Nemo,
of course,
and you've probably seen. I'm trying to think of what the name of it. He wasn't the one who did Baby, was it?
Wrong to ask.
The dinosaur.
Oh, the Brontosaurus.
Yeah, the Brontosaurus, like kind of line animated.
Yeah, maybe.
It was very early animation. Kind of cool to look at. So the sinking of the Lusitania, like the little flourishes that he added to it to make it look more like everything was taking place on the open ocean. Kind of cool. Really ahead of its time.
Sounds it.
Winsor McCay, I think, not often talked about enough. I think he was one of the first like African American animators and cartoonists.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think he was only partially African American, probably only half, but really cool. I was glad I checked that out. 10
minutes. I think I could set aside 10 minutes to watch that.
Yeah. Another short one I watched was a Lumiere Brothers 1 minute film of a snowball fight.
You're definitely trying to get through those Lumiere's discography.
Yeah, the Lumieres and the who's the other one?
I know what you're talking about.
All the French ones.
Yes.
You know, they're. It's one of those things that when it pops up on a flick chart, I'll look at it, and if it's under like 6 minutes, I'll just watch it there. So I added on there. Let's see, Hancock with Will Smith.
I still haven't seen that.
I wanted to see it because a lot of people said that it was very much in the spirit of Steve Gerber, who did Howard the Duck, Omega the Unknown, Hard Time for DC, Nevada.
Was it?
Stuart the Rat. Not as much as I'd hoped, but I believed it for Will Smith, Jason Bateman, and
Charlize Theron.
Yeah. In a superhero movie, it was enjoyable. Probably about all I really need to say about it. Saw Only God Forgives, Nicholas Winding Refn's follow-up to Drive with Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, that's one that's constantly on my list that I never get around to seeing.
It's not at all the movie that you would expect it to be. It's mostly filmed in Thai. He set the movie in Bangkok. You have Ryan Gosling speaking English in it. So you have a Dutch director, mostly Thai cast, Ryan Gosling. It's just this really cool collaboration. And basically what most people learned from Drive is that Refn's style is very deliberate. He has an economy in everything he does.
Sure.
No shot is wasted. He doesn't believe in throwing things at the camera just to throw things. If he just needs to have a shot of someone just sitting there slowly looking up over the course of 45 seconds, he's going to do the shot. And you can take that as you will. I mean,
I take that as a good thing personally.
In some ways, you'll think of it as, some like when we saw Drive the first time and we didn't know that this was his style.
Yeah.
We thought it was a joke. We were like, oh God, this is like everything we feared of an indie movie. And then it ended up into like just a really strong story. Mm-hmm. And by the time you hit the turn in the story, you're just so engrossed that you're hanging on. And Albert Brooks was so fabulous in Drive. And this was another movie that Ryan Gosling, was perfect for it. I can't remember the name of the actor who plays like the main police inspector. Basically, like, it's set in the world of organized crime and police work, but it's not really an organized crime police work story. It's more of a drama and consequence kind of piece.
Okay.
Really cool. It's not a feel good.
I'm not expecting one from
It's
him.
not the kind of movie that you're probably going to want to go back and watch again and again unless you're really, hard up for feeling bad about humanity. But
I have those days.
But it's perfectly shot.
Nice.
And then I guess I'll bring up two others. Kung Fu Dunk, Jay Chow, who you would remember as Kato from The Green Hornet with Seth Rogen.
Which, people shit on that movie. I didn't mind it. I liked it.
I loved it. And Jay Chow was a big part of why I enjoyed it so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people were disappointed with Green Hornet when they found out that it wasn't going to be Stephen Chow from
I think most people couldn't tell the difference, honestly.
Kung Fu Hustle and Shaolin Soccer.
I mean, maybe purists, but,
And it's kind of interesting with Kung Fu Dunk because basically it was on the heels of Shaolin Soccer, and I think early in the movie they even have a moment where basically it's an orphan who goes through a martial arts academy, and then all of a sudden, down on his luck, he finds someone to exploit him and turn him into a basketball superstar in Hong Kong.
Well, if it's
so
even half as
you can figure out where it goes from there.
Soccer.
I actually enjoyed it. I think more than Shaolin Soccer
Kung Fu Hustle.
or Kung Fu. I hated the ending of Kung Fu Hustle. This movie wasn't the caliber of either of those, but it ended up being a more enjoyable film because it put it all together.
Fair
And then the last one I'll mention, I watched the documentary on the band Quiet Riot entitled "Well, Now You're Here, There's No Way Back."
Wow.
Which is basically following Frankie Banali, their drummer, and basically just trying to document him trying to hold on and try to keep the band going, even though Kevin DuBrow, who was their lead singer, ended up overdosing. So
I didn't even know that.
Moments of heartbreak interspliced with moments of, oh God, you just feel bad that they're trying to keep their legacy going, and you can see that they really want to do this because they really care about it, but at the same time it's almost like you're dragging the corpse along with you. So
I actually, and I was always, I grew up, one of the earliest songs I remember when I'm young enough to actually, change the channel on the radio, Come On Feel the Noise.
Which wasn't even their song.
No, Slade.
Yeah.
Which I just found that out recently. And I always assumed that was written. I love that song. It's easily one of the catchiest rock anthem type songs there is. And then I listened to Slade, like, no, Slade. And then I fell in love with Slade. So, there's that. But, they still have Mental Health. They can claim that one.
Oh, yeah, that was a great song.
Bang Your Head. Mental Health will drive you mad.
Yeah, it was like the opposite of that movie Rockstar with
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, where you think that if you can find someone who looks and sounds enough like the sound that you're looking for, that you can keep the tribute band going with your tribute band singer. No, that's not how life works. Judas Priest figured that out when they got rid of Ripper Owens, the guy who Mark Wahlberg was based on in that movie.
There you go.
It's not the same.
Is this the second time you've brought up Rockstar, or is this just the second time it's been brought up on the podcast?
Probably the second time it's been brought up on the podcast.
Okay, yeah, because Rockstar, I think Paul brought up Rockstar.
I can't think of the other. What was the Cameron Crowe movie that came out?
Almost Famous.
I can never remember Almost Famous because we saw the commercial for Cameron Crowe's new movie, and I couldn't think of Almost Famous's. Yeah,
Almost Famous is excellent. It's actually happening in the back of my car as we speak. All right.
So yeah, that was my paternity leave
right.
through my first few weeks back at work.
Well, welcome back to work. Welcome back to the podcast, and let's get into what we are watching today.
I can hardly wait.
I'm sure you could, but we can't wait because we are definitely going over time. It's all good though.
I'm waiting with bated breath. He has the Netflix envelope. The envelope, please. PricewaterhouseCooper just handed it to Jeff.
Yes. No, be gone. Go back to your wherever, Valhalla, wherever you hang out at. Released in 1997.
Ooh.
ULEE'S Jackson is a Florida beekeeper trying to keep his family afloat despite numerous misfortunes. A wife who's recently passed away, a son who's in prison, and a daughter-in-law who's left town and left her 2 adolescent daughters in his charge. Peter Fonda earned an Academy and a Golden Globe nomination for his performance in this lushly photographed drama directed by Victor Nunez. We are watching what?
I have no idea.
It's called ULEE'S Gold. And if there wasn't a more obvious snack-related movie, since he's a beekeeper, we will be having some honey-made gramfuls.
I was worried that it was going to be a couple things. I was worried it was going to be rolled gold pretzels, a Bit-O honey.
I was actually looking for Bit-O honey. I hate that shit though.
Yeah, nobody likes Bit-O honey.
No, we do have the Gramfuls Honey Made. It's like a peanut butter and chocolate graham cracker.
That actually looks really good.
And honey roasted almonds
from Blue Diamond.
So it's quality. Sacramento's own. All right, we're gonna watch this. We'll be back.
Somebody told me they used to make a lot of honey around here.
I learned from my dad. He learned from his.
How many places you keep bees?
3, 4, 5 at a time.
Did you ever lose any?
No, I don't think so. Your daddy called tonight. Something's come up.
Helen is in Orlando. You gotta go get her.
She left her kids. Your kids. As far as I'm concerned, she can just stay gone.
You're only God, Bob.
Orion Pictures presents the story of a family on the edge.
You always think you know, don't you?
Well, I know better than to run from responsibility.
And the man who brought them back.
I've forgotten how to deal with new things, new feelings, new people.
You were almost a good man, Muley Jackson, but you tried too hard.
Sometimes the bees get confused and run away. You gotta keep calm and don't panic when they sting, because they don't mean nothing by it. And that's what Yuli does when he goes out to his bees.
She's alright. She's alright. She's alright. She's alright.
We're back. How have you been?
Oh no. All right, so the tone may be set for the next 20 minutes or so.
Get ready for hot bee business talk, just like in ULEE'S Gold.
We have finished watching ULEE'S Gold. Not a B movie per se. It is a smaller film.
I give it a B+.
Oh man. All right, I don't know if you can keep this up, man.
I wasn't saying that as with the bee humor. I was just saying better than I thought it was. I was a little nervous in the first say half hour to an hour that this was going to be just a complete downer, but it came around.
Okay, yeah, it is a what you would call a character piece. Mm-hmm. We meet ULEE'S Jackson. ULEE'S Jackson is the full proper name. He is a put-upon grandfather who raises his son's 2 daughters while he does time for doing crime. And
thankfully not like bee smuggling or
No. I think he would have totally just
Counterfeit honey distribution.
No. See, Yuli is
Yuli is on the level.
He's totally on the level, especially when it comes to the bees. He don't mess around.
He has a respect. In fact, he and the bees, they have an understanding.
Indeed. As stated early in the film, yes, Yuli and the bees. This is his life. This is the gold. The bees make the gold. And he has a simple life. They live in Florida. He raises these two daughters. Jessica Biel in her first...
Wait, Jessica Biel?
Oh, God.
Can you tell him a new dad?
I'm just going to roll with it. But Jessica Biel, this is her first film. This is her film debut. I believe she was on Seventh Heaven prior to this and throughout this.
I couldn't give you the accurate history of WB teen dramas.
WB.
To tell you when... Yes. God. This is going to be a long 15 to 30 minutes.
So yeah, and this was actually her debut role. Her next movie would be I'll Be Home for Christmas, the Jonathan Taylor Thomas Christmas vehicle that was terrible.
So two movies with Home Improvement cast members.
Yes, Patricia Heaton, who plays
Patricia Richardson.
I'm sorry, Patricia. That's the other mom.
Patricia.
Everybody Loves Raymond.
Everybody Loves Raymond.
Okay, all right, kind of similar.
Kind
of put upon housewife roles. Patricia Clarkson, who...
You keep changing the names!
Oh, no, that's an actress, the redhead.
Patricia Richardson.
Fine actress, Patricia Clarkson. But Patricia Richardson...
Wow.
Got right that
they all look alike to you, don't they?
All Patricias, all the time. It's just run through my head. Patricia Richardson, which... I don't know if you took the time to look up what she's been up to, but I have not seen her in days. And
I believe she's mostly lately showed up on episodes of Man of the House with Tim Allen.
Man of the House, wasn't that also a movie with Chevy Chase and Macaulay Culkin?
Possibly.
Or is that the one with Chevy Chase and Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
I think it was Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Another home improvement connection. Man of the House. All right, so she's on that. She always had that kind of that dour, like...
But she always came around. She had a sense of humor. She could lighten up the movie. And I was thankful that she was in ULEE'S Gold because...
everybody was so serious.
Yeah, it was so just dour and depressing that I was going to ask you, what is it about this movie that made it so likable to you?
So better than Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
Well,
I guess that's the question.
In that moment, ULEE'S Gold, people will learn further into these movies you go, I am a sucker for character pieces, films that have people playing roles that are completely relatable and you would totally buy in real life. A guy like... And Yuli is played by Peter Fonda, who completely encapsulates this role. He's weary, he's got his responsibilities, he takes them very seriously. He didn't ask to... And by the way, the mom, the two daughters that his granddaughters that he raises, she's kind of an addict, a drug addict. He has to go fetch in filthy Orlando, Florida, and bring back and have her come down.
I like that we're thinking of Orlando as a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Well, based on this film, I didn't see Disneyland anywhere. Or Disney World. I'm sorry, they got the bigger one.
The wrong side of Orlando.
That's right, the seedy side with crack dens and hoodlums and the guys. Basically those two things: hoodlums and crack dens. So he retrieves him by his son, who's in the slammer. Basically says, you gotta go get her. And these guys, who are former associates of his son, who are holding her, but they find out about some money that he hid, blah, blah, blah. And all that story is kind of secondary to me, to the actual, the character catharsis that's going on with Yulee, who... he likes things just so. He's a bit of an obsessive compulsive, which I appreciate because I am as well. There's a moment where he prepares tea for Patricia Richardson, and he just sets everything up just so. He puts the stirring spoon. He times everything, and it's like little subtle moments like that. At the same time, he's strict. He wants people to respect his rules, but at the same time, he's not condescending. Jessica Biel, who plays, she's at that teenage years or angsty, where she thinks she knows everything. But and though they kind of go at it a little bit, there's a respect. He shows her a proper respect, and even though she's defiant at times, she returns in kind. I mean, she knows at the end of the day he wants what's best for her. So, but they don't make a big production of it. It's little subtle things like that.
It's one of those movies that you can tell that decisions have consequences and they matter, and that the decisions that the characters make actually matter in the film. Absolutely. In that, at the climax of the film, Ulee makes a choice where things could go in the direction of any number of hard-nosed crime or action movies, and it doesn't go in that direction. And the characters themselves in the movie ask, why didn't you do this?
Yeah.
And he just kind of lays it out. It's like, it seems, enough bad has already happened. Why bring more into this?
Yeah, it's like, we can just keep things, we're doing okay. Why risk something to...
why escalate?
Yeah, exactly. So, and when doing that, one must make certain sacrifices. And at the end of the day, it's... Well, spoiler, I guess. So this money... his son...
Spoils of a bank robbery.
One bag of money was hidden, unbeknownst to the two hoodlums in Orlando, who his son worked for, and he's the one that's in jail. He didn't tell anybody about that, because he's going to do his time, he's going to grab his money. And
then have, his seed money for a fresh start.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it is true, and it's kind of like mentioned almost in a quick passing, like... he would take that money, and he'd probably be on parole, and people would wonder where this money came from, and people know that this money is missing, and it ultimately probably would have still been his undoing. So you kind of look at it on that level, that, okay, well, let the two hoodlums have the money, and let them, worry about...
Get hoisted by their own petard.
Yeah, exactly, and essentially that's what happens in a way. So the movie is a small film. It's, it was Peter Fonda's kind of return. It was Peter Fonda's Copland in so many ways. Because
Explain that to me.
I will. Okay, so he made he was an Easy Rider, which was a movie that was a phenomenon back in 1969. It was one of the first movies that kind of really used a real rock soundtrack,
Steppenwolf, right?
A lot of Steppenwolf, a lot of the same stuff. Born to Be Wild is synonymous with Easy Rider.
Jack Nicholson also in
Jack Nicholson got Best Supporting Actor nod. Dennis Hopper, who actually directed the film, and don't believe he directed anything worthwhile after, except for maybe The Hot Spot, and that's only because Jennifer Connelly gets naked in it. So it's got that going for it, which is nice. Easy Rider, which is a movie that I don't necessarily... It's definitely a movie of its time. I don't necessarily think it's that a good movie. But...
A lot of those kind of...
It's a psychedelic, it's a road film.
It's a niche film, it's a cult film, it's
definitely edited in a way that is, it's... Like,
it seems
somebody
like
dropped some acid before they, started the camera.
But it seems like it was adding an air of legitimacy to those kinds of movies that would have otherwise just been considered B movies and disposable.
Oh, exactly. Right? And especially then you appreciate Easy Rider after you see what Peter Fonda essentially followed up Easy Rider with was a lot of bad biker movies. Which
so like, we're doing a biker movie. Let's get Peter Fonda.
Peter Fonda, he's a shoo-in. Captain America, which was his.
And in this, he comes in playing a role that could have been played by nowadays Clint Eastwood in his. I'm tough, but I have real human emotions.
Yes,
kind of.
But I would actually say Peter Fonda throws a little bit more gravitas in the role than Clint Eastwood would. He's so he doesn't have to act tough for you to know that he is tough.
So he doesn't need to pull a full Gran Torino.
Yeah, not at all. He's
I never saw Bridges of Madison County. That was a Clint Eastwood sensitive film. Wasn't it?
So sexy, so hot.
Jeez,
that. Not on the list. Side note, Bridge of Madison County is an okay film, actually.
Never seen it.
Well,
never read the book.
Can't say I read the book either, but...
It was that was one of those, like... Was that an Oprah's Book Club?
Quite possibly. It definitely would fit the bill. Sorry, I have to pick up my notes.
You're fine.
So, my whopping...
With a movie like this, yes. Do you feel that it has a rewatchability for you, even though it feels so bad in a lot of the moments of it?
It does. Well, I couldn't watch this every day, obviously, or every year even. Mm-hmm. I came back, honestly, because it's such a short notice. This is the first time I've watched this film since probably 99, 2000. It's been a while.
And what drew you to it when you watched it initially?
Essentially Peter Fonda's performance, and like I said, I'm kind of enveloped in his character. He has this, majesty, this quiet, confidence. Like, people know who they can't intimidate him. It's like even the hoodlums have a certain begrudging respect to him, and except maybe for the very end, because they know that he, the guy. It's glossed upon that he was in the military. He was in jungle warfare, so he was up in it, and he's seen a lot of shit, and he's not easily fazed. And you meet him, and within moments you realize everybody's going to be okay, even when he's tying them to chairs and putting masking tape on them to show the baddies where the booty is.
Wow.
But even as he's putting the masking tape, that would be weird.
Duct tape
upon them.
It wasn't Scotch tape.
That would take a little longer.
Magic tape.
So, like I say, there's a comfort about the character and it's so subtle in the performance. And like I said, this is the movie that made me think that, all right, Peter Fonda, I think he has something in him. And he followed this up. He had a small role in a movie called The Limey, which is a Soderbergh film that stars Terrence Stamp. He kind of plays the villain in it, and he's good in that in the small role. But I really haven't seen. He's been in things. He's been small.
He's an actor who hasn't really lived up to his potential. Is that what you're kind of thinking?
Well, especially considering his father was Henry Fonda, who is a actor that is
Hank Fonda,
good old Hank Fonda, who from Grapes of Wrath to
On Golden Pond
to Once Upon a Time in the West. The guy was one of the great actors. And you could actually watch this and you could see he's kind of channeling his father a bit.
Uncle of Bridget? Father of Bridget?
Bridget Fonda would be the daughter of Peter.
Okay.
Bridget Fonda's a fine... Where is Bridget Fonda? I feel like I haven't seen her since Jackie Brown or City Hall. I like
that you asked her, so where is she? I haven't seen her I haven't seen her around these days.
She hasn't been by the bar.
He used to bump into Bridget Fonda.
I wish I had such a thing for Bridget Fonda back in the day. Oh my god. Think about it. I loved that smile. One of the first dates I ever went on when I had my own car, it was actually the second. First date I ever saw at the movies was Mary Shelley Frankenstein. Second one was...
I'm sorry.
You know what? I didn't even care. I was had my arms around...
It was De Niro as the monster, right?
Yeah. I took... I'm not going to say her name, but she was basically considered the school whore. And
to see Robert De Niro as Frankenstein's monster.
Hey, I got my first
Okay. Say no more.
No. I got my first genuine first base that night, and I was grateful for it. And I feel like I could have gone more, but you know what? I was so inexperienced. I just all right, I had a tongue in my mouth. Life's good. I'm going home.
Cut your losses. Not cut your losses.
I just no one to hold them, no one to fold them, no one to walk away.
Be grateful for what you.
I'm cashing my chips. I'm out. Yeah. But Point of No Return, the Bridget Fonda La Femme Nikita American remake, was the second movie I saw in theaters with a date. Did not get any bases with that woman, but that's okay because Bridget Fonda made the night go by a lot easier. What was I going to say? It was hard to pull real notes for this movie because it's not really.
I actually had quite a few.
Yeah, I've seen what you got. Your page looks way better than mine.
A lot of questions of if they made this movie now. Who would you put,
First of all, if they made this movie now, it'd probably be on Lifetime, let's be honest.
Do you think it would be a Lifetime movie, or do you think that
with the same cast, except for maybe...
Or do you think they could take it and twist it into, a Liam Neeson revenge movie?
It would have been a lot more violent, there'd probably been a lot more hoodlums.
Or if it was remade in its own day, could Charles Bronson have played the part of Yulee?
If only. I don't think Charles Bronson brings the proper gravitas. I'm going to say that word again, because I enjoy saying it. But I think he's more of a Clint Eastwood thing, where this intensity is apparent upon this weary man, whereas Yulee, it's like he's if you only knew him by his reputation, that would be enough.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the movie is directed by Victor Nunez, who his most notable movie aside from this is Ruby in Paradise, and
not familiar.
Ashley Judd, who prior to becoming a Hollywood hack actress, did a couple very small independent films, Ruby in Paradise being one and Gas Food Lodging being the other, where she all of a sudden, all eyes on Ashley, the younger, skinnier of the Judd sisters. Winona had the pipes, whereas apparently Ashley had the acting. And she was great in Ruby in Paradise and Gas Food Lodging. And then I think she followed up with showing up in Heat, which, she was fine in that. And then, unfortunately, you had Kiss the Girls, Double Jeopardy. The movies that actually, were successful. And
made money for her.
Made money, but, you actually forget that she actually has decent chops. And until you see Bug. Well, that didn't happen. Anyway, so he did that. This was kind of the follow-up to that. Yulee's Gold got a lot of attention, primarily for Peter Fonda, because it was considered the big comeback role. And when I compare it to Copland, it's like Sly Stallone. He did a lot of bad movies in between.
Let me try to think of some of them.
Try?
I can't think of their names.
They're all gold.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Oscar.
That's the one I was trying to think of.
Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Those are the comedies, but, Rhinestone and...
Well, but, Rhinestone was further back, right?
Yeah, but they were all bad. Basically, you can look at, you forget that Stallone was an Oscar-nominated actor for Rocky. And I don't know if Peter Fonda was ever nominated for Easy Rider. I don't believe he was, but... It was obviously a defining role, and
So instead of box office schlock, you finally had them in a role where they were acting.
Exactly. And then he made Copland essentially to prove that, hey, I can still, step up to the plate. And Copland, it's not a great movie, but it does remind you that Sly Stallone has it in him to...
it has more substance than Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Exactly. Of course, he follows Copland up with the...
I really wanted to like Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
I saw it as a kid. I think I was at the Bargain Theater, and I was bored out of my mind.
All those movies that, I tried to go back and watch that, Cop and a Half.
I never saw Cop and a Half. I always remember Cop and a Half as being the movie that Roger Ebert liked.
Still haven't seen Turner and Hooch.
I love Turner and Hooch.
That one I think might age well.
If you love dogs, it's a tough one because the movie.
Don't spoil it. I may actually see it at some point.
It has brought me to tears. But I love Turner and Hooch, and I actually think it. And the because you look at the Tom Hanks career prior to, not even big. Let's just say Philadelphia, the Philadelphia career before he became just complete Oscar every year Oscar nom. Turn Hooch.
Punchline.
No, I'm not gonna throw Punchline in there, but I love Money Pit. I love
Bachelor Party.
I love Bachelor Party. Great movie. And you know what? It has not aged that badly. I saw that relatively recently.
But not Bachelor Party 2.
There's a Bachelor Party 2?
I think it has Jake Busey in it.
Oh, good lord. Who wants to... Jake Busey is pox off as poison. I'm just going to go on record that right there.
He was tolerable in Starship Troopers.
Yeah, because he wasn't the lead in Starship Troopers. If he was Casper Van Dien, no one saw that movie. That's the teeth. He has the Busey teeth, and that's horrifying. Kind of on the subject of movies that pair well with it. What movies would you pair with ULEE'S Gold? Good question. I would say most. If we're gonna pair like smaller, I mean, you can even take Ruby in Paradise, which is a smaller film and also a character arc, except it's female. It's actually a good companion piece if you want the full Victor Nunez complimentary sampler.
Mm-hmm.
Small. I mean, I'm trying to think of small.
Like I might have put, if I was being very serious about it, and I think it was just that closing scene. I could have even put a movie like Adaptation in there with it.
I was thinking maybe The Gift. Well, maybe that has a lot going on.
Maybe if we were being more on the nose. Bee movie?
Oh,
Deadly Bees? City Slickers 2, Legend of Curly's Gold? My Girl? Too soon?
Golden Eye? Goldfinger? The woman wore gold boots.
Jeez.
Bad. Bee.
Really bad.
Bee. There's The Secret of the Bees.
Oh, Secret Life of Bees.
Secret Life of Bees.
No other Yulee movies?
No.
They haven't made a film version of Ulysses?
They have. Yeah, they have. It exists. I believe the most recent adaptation was a TV movie, which has great special effects. Was Ulysses the one with the Cyclops, or am I thinking of Jason and the Argonauts? Or Homer's Odyssey?
It's all the same thing.
Is it all the same thing? Okay.
There were little lines in this that I liked, and it was funny when I was thinking about the whole thing about why do people watch movies that make them feel so bad, and then I think it was Penny, who was played by
the young actress
Vanessa Zima, who you would know her sister because she was the daughter on The Nanny, and then later became the kind of impetus for most of the series of Californication. Oh. Her sister Madeline went on to more substantive acting success.
Good work.
But Vanessa's character Penny in the film has a line where she responds to one of Yulee's questions, and he asks her, "You like sad?" And she pauses and she says, "No, but sometimes inside it makes you quiet." Yeah. And it was something I hadn't really thought about, and it gave me a little bit of pause, and I was like, okay, I can buy into it.
The wisdom of a child, let me tell you.
Out of the mouths of babes.
Indeed.
And not, necessarily pigs in the city or otherwise.
Oh. That's a good movie, by the way. All right, we got to wrap this up.
I will point out to anybody who's thinking about seeing this, solid performance from Christine Dunford in the role of Helen Jackson.
The recovering mama.
Yulee's daughter-in-law.
Daughter-in-law.
In one of the great bed confinement performances of our generation. I think this easily gets placed next to Misery, Linda Blair in Exorcist,
nice,
and the grandparents in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And speaking of beds, for some reason I thought there was this one scene where Yulee is himself confined to a bed and adjusts it, and it reminded me of the golden age of adjustable beds, and I wondered, Craftmatic or Niagara?
I'm a Craftmatic guy. I always dreamed about having a Craftmatic.
I think every kid saw those and was just like, oh god. I actually worked with a guy who, when his grandmother died, she had an adjustable bed, and apparently that was his takeaway from the estate.
Score.
So when people would come to visit him, he would just be sitting in total darkness, and you would just see the cigarette in his mouth, and then you would see it slowly rising up as though he was Robert De Niro in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Sweet.
Till he was on his feet.
Nice.
Just fabulous. That was a great visual, and I thought he was living the dream.
Little did we know.
Other things that you may enjoy with this film, turn into a drinking game anytime you hear the word bee.
Or you think of any, any telling bee quip. But, you know what? You'll get totally sloshed by, the first 30, 40 minutes of it. So just look for the bees. There's plenty of bees
Pace
to go
yourself.
around.
Start with something lower gravity.
There you go.
Would you continue to hold this as your 481st favorite film?
I think I'd keep it still around this area. Like I said, this is the type of movie, and I'm glad you watched it, because I have a feeling this would probably bore the shit out of Rob. And and I'm not saying Rob doesn't like slow movies. Rob can appreciate these types of movies, but I think after coming off Mad Max, it might be.
It's kind of and if anything, I think I kind of. Watching a movie like Only God Forgives kind of prepared me for something slower paced.
Indeed.
So it didn't feel so bad. I mean, it definitely felt like a 90s film. Mm-hmm. So be forewarned.
Be forewarned.
Yes, be forewarned. If you find that, because sometimes you'll see a movie and just the era that it's filmed in, when it looks too much of its era, it's kind of hard to get back to it, especially if you lived through it and you didn't really care for that time anyway.
Exactly.
Jessica Biel may not be, and Peter Fonda may not be thick enough for you.
This is true.
My 481st film.
Oh, you flick card this bad boy, huh?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
A movie that I actually find grossly overrated.
It's I don't know. I mean, I suppose that puts it in the top third of movies for me.
Okay.
Because I think I'm just over. I guess that's really in the top quarter, because I think I'm over 2,000 movies now.
Fair enough.
Which I think I stand by. I mean, I like.
No, it's a classic. It's one of those classics that eludes me, though.
But I'd rather watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High than Meatballs. That's pretty much where I am, or Porky's, or.
I understand, and I can't even argue with that. And like I said, anything with Phoebe Cates' chest can't be totally bad.
Or Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, Judge Reinhold.
Judge's Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold does enhance any film. Period. There's no if and buts about that. All right, we will leave you today. Well, actually, I gotta say my special thanks goes out to. The man who made the theme music for this podcast. That's Austin Osgraham. To hear more, you can go to Austin's Facebook, YouTube, and SoundCloud site. I said MySpace last time, so
go to his Rate My Rack.
Hot or not? No. So SoundCloud, Facebook, and YouTube. That's Austin Osgraham. Austin like the city, Oz like the wizard, Graham like the cracker. Special shout out goes to engineer Travis, who without Hume Cronin.
Without Hume
Cronin and engineer Travis, you would not be hearing this podcast. Check out the Plan 9 podcast.
I listened to it for the first time.
I know. Thank you for your patronage.
I tried to make Friday a Jeff day. If I couldn't be with you in person, I was trying to sing the praises of Jeff, and I figured a good way to do that was listen to, since I finished all the McJeffrey 500 podcasts, listening to those, I figured, well, might as well listen to a Plan 9.
That's smart, and I'm filthy on that one, so just I'm a whole different beast when I don't have to run the thing. This week we watched we watched Grabbers. We watched a more recent film, so that's cool. It's a sea monster movie. Check it out. It actually came out in the last few years. So.
Sea monster in the style of Beanie and Cecil?
Oh, it was more of a octopus type monster. It takes place in Ireland, and people have to get drunk so they can contaminate their blood, so the monster that won't eat them.
I see.
Enough said. Okay, we will leave you with Did you want to leave with that Third Eye Blind?
I would be delighted.
Go ahead. We will leave you with Third Eye Blind's How's It Going to Be?
How's it gonna be?
Terrible. Until next time, I don't even know what to do. I may have to change this part. Until next time, you dirty bees.
Be kind.
Be kind. And I bid you adieu.